Thank you, Acting Speaker. And I rise to contribute to the Retirement Villages Amendment Bill 2024. And of course, this is an amendment to an act from 1986, which was a fantastic year because the mighty Michael Tuck led the fantastic Hawks to a premiership over Carlton that year. So I'm certainly not one to read into things too much of why I was so elevated to our speaking list, but probably because I had a taste at retirement a few years ago. And there was an earlier speaker that said retirees have plenty of time on their hands. Let me tell you, they don't. I was never so busy as being in retirement, but I only lasted 3 months, and I will remind him, even though he's retired from politics, I will remind Daniel Andrews about the phone call that he made in October 2018, 3 weeks out before the 2018 state election. He dragged me out of retirement. So, and ever since, the caravan's been in mothballs, although we've stepped on, we've moved to a motorhome now, so hopefully we will get to use it a bit more. But, you know, retirement villages are a thing that I need to think about in my stage of my life, and I have raised it with my wife, and she said, you'd have to be kidding to think about moving towards a retirement village. It would be very difficult for us at this stage because we've got too many animals, and I don't think they could house our horses and dogs and cats and birds and all the other things that we've got at our place. But anyway, look, it's an honour to speak on this piece of reformative work from the Minister for Consumer Affairs, and I want to thank the former Minister, the member for Dandenong, and her office for the work that they've done on this bill, the previous work before our new Minister of Consumer Affairs was appointed, and my good friend, the member for Bentley, and I look forward to working with him in his new role as the Minister for Consumer Affairs. Of course, the bill represents a crucial step forward in how we regulate retirement villages, and it's one that goes to ensuring fairness and security and dignity for residents now and into the future, and that's what we're working towards, and hoping that people in the later stages of their lives are not burdened by pressures of unfairness and insecurity, and also financial security, that they've worked hard all their life, got to their retirement, and unfortunately in some cases we've seen unscrupulous retirement village operators, for want of a better term, try to rip some retirees off, and that's what we're trying to avoid through this amendment to the legislation. It certainly strengthens consumer protections, and it improves support for the diverse needs of our ageing Australians, and it establishes some clear mechanisms for resolving any disputes that arise. And again, it's things that we want to avoid for retirees, and that is to end up in lengthy legal battles over their entitlements, their rights and entitlements, and of course their financial situation, their financial security, let alone having a roof over their head, and how important that is for them. And I know the member for Geelong raised that earlier in her contribution about many of these residents are in retirement villages for a range of reasons, but a lot of them are in retirement villages because they want to downsize from the properties that they've been, whether they've been on the land, on farms, whether they've been in a residential property that's become too big and they don't need a property that size or a house that size. And also some of these retirement villages, or most of them, hopefully, have fantastic facilities, modern facilities, and have a greater range of facilities for retirees to access than what they would in their previous residence. The bill also looks ahead, creating a regulatory framework that can adopt or adapt to the growth and innovation of this sector. And of course, we all know that our community is living longer, and many more of us will be housed in retirement villages as the population grows. As we're getting older, there'll be a greater percentage of our community and our population ending up in retirement villages by choice, hopefully, and that's what we're working towards. Of course, it safeguards the rights and interests of both the current and future residents, including those transitioning out of retirement villages, and we've heard previous speakers contribute along that way. It's certainly interesting that I've been seeing retirement lifestyle advertisements on the television recently, and which is a worry that I notice those sort of advertisements. And again, I referred to raising these issues with my wife, and she was a bit shocked that I thought that we should consider thinking about those things in the future. Hopefully I'm at a stage that if we do make a decision like that, that I'm capable of making that decision and not, a bit pickled in the head or something like that. But anyway, we'll worry about that as time rolls on. Of course, the review of the Retirement Villages Act made it clear that residents and operators need greater clarity around their rights and responsibilities and improved dispute resolution. And it's simpler and more transparent contracts, and that's what we're hopeful for, that it's not too complicated and confusing and difficult for people to manage. It's a direct response to those concerns, and it was following a comprehensive review. I know some contributors today have referred to how long this has taken. My preference is that while it might have taken quite some time, I think the reference was back to 2017, where we want to get this right, and we want to make it better for retirees in these villages, and to have a more simpler, secure, better outcomes for them if they do engage in these contractual arrangements and move into these facilities. So throughout the consultation process, the government received hundreds of submissions, and mainly from, I think 90% of the submissions were from residents and some of their family members, and of course representatives of residents' committees at some of the villages, and they all demonstrated a strong desire to have some change and improvements, and I congratulate everyone that submitted one of their submissions in regard to trying to improve the terms and conditions around people entering into the contractual arrangements and entering into retirement village situations. So congratulations to all those that contributed to the outcome here, and hopefully this delivers on what they were seeking. So, of course, as a result, these reforms mark the most significant overhaul of the Retirement Villages Act since its introduction back in 1986, setting some of the strongest protections in the country. Consumer Affairs Victoria will now have greater enforcement powers, ensuring operators provide clearer information and stronger consumer protections. It reinforces our commitment to making retirement villages fairer and more transparent and more secure choice for older Victorians. And with, as I said before, with the population being projected to 10.3 million by 2051, and 1 in 4 Victorians expected to be over 60, which is not, 60 years of age is not old. That's coming from a 66-year-old. 60 years of age is just a great start in life, I can tell you. So, but many more people from 60 years of age are engaging with retirement villages because, as I say, a lot of them are starting to downsize and looking at the facilities that are available to them and the services that are available to them through some of these villages. So, but again, 1 in 4 Victorians are expected to be over 60 by 2046, and the sector is evolving rapidly, and we have to be aware of that, and we have to make sure that is safe, secure, transparent, and somewhere where people want to go to rather than be forced to, and engaged in contracts that they don't wish to be engaged with. The bill introduces 5 overarching principles which will guide the interpretation of the Retirement Villages Act, with proposed principles to include that a resident's preference to remain in a retirement village should be respected, and all residents should be treated with dignity and respect. And I think they're two key areas in regard to our elderly community. They need to have dignity, they deserve the dignity, and they deserve the respect given their contribution to our community over many, many years. So it's not rocket science. This is an important bill, and I commend the bill to the House.